I'm Don Maniago from Far Eastern University, and I'm a student who is also a debater for the school. Percentage of students or youth who might know about global crisis. I don't know the exact amount, but I could say it's a marginalized sector. Why a marginalized sector? Because there's only a certain amount of youth who want to engage in such awareness and who want to engage in trying to solve the problem. But if I were to estimate, I'd give it a 30% to 35, because let's face it, not a lot of us are aware, and not a lot of us would want to involve ourselves in this, because we're busy with school, we're busy with love life, we're busy with hanging out, that global awareness or trying to solve a global problem isn't that much of an immediate concern to us. We debate on these issues a lot of times. For example, we talk about China and how it should reduce its carbon emissions, given the fact that it should be US who should be. These are things that we talk about, especially in international relations, and how we try to solve global issues. Because in debate, it's not just about debating on certain things. We try to find a solution. That solution, we try to inculcate and integrate in us as students, because we are the future leaders someday, and future graduates will work and try to solve the problem of global problems. How important is it to me as an individual? Because even if I do my best, it isn't just about me. It should be a collectivist perspective. When we talk about a collectivist perspective, it should be in everyone's mind. It should be everyone's need. It should be everyone's goal. It is only through a collectivist view that we can try to have a collectivist solution to our problem, because it affects everyone directly. Even if not directly, it's obviously indirectly. The things that we do, the things we say, or the things we should think should also concern others, should also concern what we can do to help others, because we might do something being ignorant of the consequences it has now. For example, it's like hyperbolic discounting. We only care about the short-term benefits, but we should also look into the long-term benefits of what it can do, of what such, or for example, how we can cut or reduce carbon emissions. We should look into the long-term benefits in society, because the future generations are the ones who are going to be affected. So it's really important to me, because my children, and perhaps even your children in the future, are going to be affected by how much harm these carbon emissions can do to them. Should it be a top issue of Pinoy? It should be considered by Pinoy as a top issue and an agenda in his cabinet. But the problem is, he is facing a lot more problems. He's facing the K-12, even the Ampatuan massacre trial, and the Supreme Court justices' plagiarism issue. These are things that he is focusing on. That even if those are the problems, global environmental awareness should still be an issue. But given the fact that he's preoccupied with these problems, I think he would tend to neglect these issues on global pollution and that. It's simple why people don't actually have interest. It's just because they're not interested, because they're not affected. They're not affected directly. They're not affected by how much carbon emission could actually be consumed into one's lungs and actually cause lung cancer. That's not someone would think about. He would just think about short-term happiness. And the reason why they probably don't want to show interest is because they don't want to show commitment, because people now don't like commitment on such a large or massive scale. For me, how would people show more interest? Maybe it's by indoctrinating them. Let's look at, for example, the church. People or the families at young itself, they teach their children that let's go to church, let's practice moral values. It is because of this indoctrination that children from the onset of their childhood, carry it until their teenage lives, and carry it into their adult life. With that analysis and parallel example, we have to start this awareness within children themselves. It should start in the family and should be also be complemented in school. It is only by the school and by parents complementing each other that children will have an interest subconsciously that they have to do something to solve these problems. Personally, yes. Well, increasing weather temperatures here in the Philippines and also around the world, this is just a simple manifestation of climate change. But a bigger picture is the melting of the icebergs in the North and South Pole. These are bigger detriments to society, and we should be alarmed by how much the water level is increasing because of the melting ice. Because, for example, if there's another tsunami or an earthquake, the water could actually have a deluge in a certain place and actually harm and kill a lot of people. These are signs that we cannot disregard in today's society. Yes, I'll be willing to volunteer for some NGO units because it's their advocacy to inform and to find change within the youth. And if their cause, or if me helping them would help their cause, that's already a given incentive for them and me for joining the organization. Will it make a difference if I volunteer? Maybe to me it would, but to everyone around me it's not, because it's just one person. Again, it should be a collectivist perspective or view, because we should all volunteer, because it's not just me who will be affected, it's also everyone around us and me. So for me, I think it would make a difference to me if I did, but for everyone's sake, it would be better for everyone to volunteer. Would I be able to shout in the streets for what I believe? Yes. If I know what I'm talking about and if I know if it's worth dying for, then obviously it's something that I would really shout in the streets and try to get my ass killed. But it should be, again, with people who care about the same thing, because it's only then can you send a message that it will be a strong message that, hey, you know what, we're fighting for something and it's really worth listening to. But let's look at society now. According to research, even if the Philippines stops or lessens its carbon emission, it's not equivalent to how much the United States, for example, is emitting. Which just means that even if we stop, it only makes a small difference. The big emission of gases comes from transnational companies who are looking for profit. For example, let's look at China, United States, or basically the world's most powerful countries. They are the ones who are emitting a lot of carbon emissions. They are the ones who are actually causing a lot more problems than the Philippines. Southeast Asian countries and even developing countries are just developing countries, therefore they're still developing their own industries, which tells us that their carbon emissions isn't that much. But if you look at developed countries or first world countries, they are the ones who have powerful industries who emit a lot of carbon, which only tells us that the change should come from these transnational companies. Moreover, it's also a lot like culture. Why culture? It's always been the Western culture that always has an influence on the lower cultures or the subordinating cultures. For example, let's just look at the pop culture. It comes from the United States of America. It's evident in how we walk as Filipinos, how we talk, how we dress. These are manifestations of the cultural domination of one state over another. It's because of this that even the carbon emissions are also because of the large states. The United States, for example, the United States is the one who emits a lot of carbon. So what I'm trying to say is, even if we try, Filipinos, to lessen our carbon emissions, it should come, or the greater impact or number of carbon emissions that should be lessened should come from the developed countries. It is only by them who can set the example for us developing countries that we can follow later on that we also can lessen. But again, it should be a collectivist perspective that if the US and China lessen their carbon emissions, it should be a domino effect that all the following countries, continents should also lessen their carbon emissions. For individuals like me as students, we should be more socially, politically, and environmentally aware, because this is our world. We live in it, and everything we do affects one another. If we do a lot of things that would harm nature, for example, this would come back to us thrice or even a greater amount that we did. Pollution, even smoking is a small thing, but if you look at it carefully, with a lot of people smoking does emit a lot of smoke, and even small or widens or smaller lessens the ozone layer. So as an individual, we should exercise restraint that in the sense that we should stop what we know could harm others, environmentally speaking, and moreover, we should have the awareness that if we know that it's going to affect someone and the world, we should stop it. We should stop, or we should fight for what is right, even right now, because what we need now as Filipinos, we need a hero. A hero who can guide us, and who knows, maybe that hero can start inside you. Maybe that hero is you, and maybe that hero is just waiting to be discovered.
Alright.